The best projects you will ever work on in your business are ones when it's not really just a client and vendor relationship. It's where it is a true relationship. You might be business buddies, but it's going to be where you are peers working towards a common goal. There are a few things you can do, and there's some things you should avoid. And in today's Morning for Visionaries, we're talking about how to be a peer to your clients, how to be a good, trusted expert, and provide high quality work through this relationship and not just be a vendor. I don't like that word, by the way. But skipping over that, the big and most important thing is you have to treat them as if they are a peer. Be they big or small, they are your peer. They are at the same level as you. They might not know everything you know, and you definitely don't know everything that they know. And that is where you start. You are peers. You might, I don't want to say you want to pretend that you're out for drinks with a business buddy. That's not what this is. You can get there to that point of the relationship. That's fine. And especially initially, what you're going to want to do is very simply communicate like you are at the same level, which means you are taking into account their interests, their needs, their wants, and treating them as if they are as busy as you, and thus you are as busy as them. For example, on an initial sales call and meeting, you might say, well, depending if it's a call or a meeting, slightly different, but the idea is the same. You might say, hey, I know we're at this meeting and we've allocated an hour for this meeting, so that means when we're both very busy, so let's set some agenda points for this meeting and let's break around 50 minutes or so and make sure we've gotten all the topics covered and then set next steps where appropriate. So you're treating them as an equal where you do want to keep them informed and both you and them have a hand in what's happening and what's going to happen next. You are the expert that's leading all of this thing, of course, because that's why they're here. Though they are here out of mutual interest and out of mutual want to create a project going forward. So what else can you do? For one thing, depending on who you are, who you're talking to, that might mean, for example, they're not Mr. or Mrs. Smith. You're not Mr. CEO of company. They're John, Joanne. You call them by the first name. You're cordial with them, professional, and you treat them as such with respect. And they should be treating you with such respect as well, which also means you have set expectations before these meetings and these or whatever might be happening. So that, before we continue, so that means you are going to be letting them know what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. You're communicating often. So let's jump from meetings to just general communication. In communicating, what good experts and peers do is you communicate clearly and under the assumption that they are going to communicate with the same kind of quality back to you. So let's give you an example. So let's say we've done the initial meetings and you're in the project already. That means you're going to be communicating what goes where, how it's going to go, what things you need from them, making sure that you're keeping tabs on them, and they're probably going to be keeping tabs on you a little bit. But even though it is going to be a client-vendor relationship, they're going to rely on you to keep pushing things forward, for the most part at least, which also means that therefore, you have to treat them as a person who is also part of this project, aka a teammate. So you have to keep them on track, and because you've been brought in as the expert, you now have to lead them with a guiding warm hand. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be the grandma or the stereotypical, very cozy and nice, cool grandma or grandpa. You can be if that's your personality. For the most part, that means you have to be reasonably forceful on some things, but you still have to be gentle in guiding them along. But that is what a teammate and a peer does. You tell them kind of, the how it is type thing. You tell them what things are going on. You don't sugarcoat things, but you also, you're not going to be a jerk about how you're telling these things. You don't have to be politically correct depending who these people are, but you do have to have to a certain point, you have to develop a silver tongue to present, pronounce, and move forward with these ideas. For example, there is a difference in saying, hey, we've been waiting for 2 weeks for this content. What is wrong with you? Why aren't you sending these things? Come on. We got to get this project going. I'm wasting money by just waiting for you for this content. That is probably the bad way and wrong way to tell a client that, hey, we're waiting for your content. A good way, for example, and as a fellow peer, hey, things are really crazy right now. We've all been super busy. I was just wondering, have you had a chance to work on this content that we need to move this project forward? That's nice, safe, cordial. You're treating them as a peer. They're super busy, and they probably really are super busy. They have their own lives and their own issues to deal with. They also have their own goals and things and priorities that they're working on. And you have to be respectful of that. And that is part of what being a peer means. They have their own world. They have their own things they need to be doing. They're not going to be dedicated 100% all the time on this project. That's kind of your job, right? So you have to treat them with the respect that you're treating a regular peer, a person on this project who is on the same level as you, to keep moving these things forward. So part of that is communication. Another part of that is making sure you understand their goals and needs and working within those goals and needs so that they're kept happy. And I know that sounds kind of weird and salesy to some people, because I used to think that way too. But you do have to keep the client happy, and it does not mean you have to be unhappy in doing so. That just means you have to make sure that your goals align. And that is part of where some of those initial conversations come in, and establishing that you're a peer and you understand their needs, you understand their worries, you understand their restraints, restrictions, or freedoms that they might have, and their goals and wants, and where they're going with all of these things. So that's it for today's Morning for Visionaries. The big thing really to think about is establish yourself as a peer, mostly by communicating properly and well, that you're at the same level of thinking and alignment of how things should be moving along. Though you might have to be guiding things, they should have a hand in how this works, because that is what a trusted peer does. You ask for their input, you ask for their guidance, for their information, and you together create things going forward. And that is how a lot of these things should be established, initially during the project and especially afterwards. You're in this together. That's it for today's Morning for Visionaries. Being a peer is awesome. Teammates are awesome. And especially right now, it's kind of the COVID-19 stuff going around. Working together coherently, remotely is important. Communication is key for that. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions on what it means to be a peer to your fellow visionaries, entrepreneurs, and clients, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you think about that, and I'd be happy to answer questions about it. See you next time. Bye.